Alex here. I hope everybody's healthy, happy, and safe. This Friday, I'm going to do something a little bit different. Instead of interviewing someone, I'm going to actually cut on the bandsaw. And what I want to do is a bandsaw box, a single drawer bandsaw box that has a hidden drawer in the back. So if you're interested in seeing that, this is a box that will be up on YouTube later this month. And this is a simple little push button box. And what it does is it pushes the drawers out, and when you push the drawers in, it pushes the button out, and we'll show that later in the month. But what I'm talking about is on the back side, you can see we've got another hidden drawer. And I want to show you how to make one of those this Friday night. And I'm going to make it out of this good old Western cedar. Should be easy. I'm going to actually finish up 3 of them in progress so that we can kind of go through it and y'all be able to see exactly what I'm talking about. And don't forget that the Apple box will be up on YouTube later this month. I've got it done in cedar and I can't wait for everybody to see how it's done. All right, welcome to Friday night. Tonight we're going to do something a little bit different. Usually, well, I shouldn't say usually, here on Bandsaw Life. Lately I've been doing some interviews with some really incredible folks. I appreciate their time and I look forward to interviewing some other greats in the future. Tonight I am going to do a hidden drawer bandsaw box. Just to kind of give you an idea what a hidden drawer bandsaw box is, this is one that I made for my wife a long time ago. And as you can see, it's got a drawer, and then in the back, it's got a hidden drawer. So tonight, I'm going to do one of these out of that Western cedar. This is actually a piece of my parents' mantle. Dad replaced it. I took the block of wood and I've kept it for several different projects, this being one. What I'm going to do tonight, in less than an hour, I hope to cut, glue, sand, and finish and flock this box before the end of the night. And then I hope to, and I only go for 1 hour, and then I hope to go through a few questions and bid you all a good weekend. I've got 2 saws set up. We are experiencing our first evening without Sandra to start. Sandra went to work today, so this is our first day back here in Virginia, and so she may come in here in a little bit. All right, now the design that I've decided, something that's simple, easy to do, is just basically a little tower. All I have to do is round over the top to get the outside shape of the box. Now, normally I would cut this out. I'd have some sort of curve, but if it's a straight line anyhow, why not use a chop saw or something to give it a smoother cut so you don't have to do as much sanding. So we'll start by cutting that top off, turn our dust collector on. Now the blade that I'm using is a 1/8 inch harder blade. It is 14 feet per inch. I'm also using a blade stabilizer by Carter, and it is designed for 1/4 inch or smaller blades. So we've just rounded that top. Now, we've got to cut our back off here, but before I started, I also made sure that I had a perfectly square table. So what I usually do is get a 2x, make sure it's good and flat, make a simple cut, flip the wood over, bring it around back. If the blade will go back into that cut, I know my table is level and I can do these cuts so that they're perfectly straight up and down. We'll take that piece. I'm going to move this over to the bigger saw. I think y'all can see that without me having to move. So I think what I'll do, I've got my fence set on the larger saw. I'm using a 3/8 inch greenwood blade, and I'm going to stand it up on the flattest surface possible. And we're just going to cut the back of that box off just about a 1/4 inch. Now, very important through this whole process, make sure that you mark your material, especially if you're doing more than one. You want to put 1 line, 2 lines. Just mark it, and we're going to put the back because sometimes it can become confusing as to what's the back, what's the front, and you want to make sure that you've got that marked properly. So we've got the back cut off. Now next, I want to cut into the box, but we're going to start with the grain. If you try to cut anywhere else, it'll really show up pretty. It just really kind of stands out. So always try to cut with the grain on your initial cut. That way your cut line will look more like a grain line. It makes it very difficult for folks to pick that cut right off the bat. Now, I usually take my pencil and I'm just going to set it for about a 1/4 inch. I'm just going to go right around that piece. This is not something that you have to follow. It just gives you a good guideline so that you kind of stay on that track. We'll start with our grain. Now, try to stop a little bit before the line and begin to make your turn. Remember, it's a 1/8 inch blade. It's really going to only give you about an 1/8 or maybe a 16 at best. Turn. You'll notice I cut pretty slow with this 1/8. Kind of letting it do the cutting. But the reason that I use the 1/8, especially for the drawer part, is so that I don't have to do quite so much sanding. And sometimes drawers can be pretty tight turns. So now, when you get to the very end there, push up and let the vibration cut through the end. Once you're sure that piece is free, then stop your saw. That way you don't cut into the board and leave that little line that's sometimes very annoying. Let that stop completely. Now you can see that the drawer comes in and out both sides, so we know we're perfectly straight up and down. Now we can set this off to the side. Next, since we're doing a hidden drawer, normally we would cut the front and the back off. Right now, we're only going to cut the front off because we want to make sure that we cut our drawer in the back before we cut that back off. So we'll just come right back over here to the saw. Same thickness. I'll have to change the fence. We've cut the front off. Now next, we know that this is the back, so we're going to flip that up. Again, we want to cut in with the grain. The hidden drawer, probably not so critical, but still, why not run with the grain? And again, I'm just going to kind of trace right around that. The drawer doesn't have to be perfect size, so I'm just going to draw a couple of lines. We'll run right across the top, and that's basically the size of the drawer that we're going to cut out of the back. Again, right up to the edge, we'll hold that inside piece, let it stop. Again, that way we don't get the line that is just very aggravating to see that cut line. Now we've got our drawer for the hidden part. We'll set that aside. Now we can cut the back off and go ahead and cut that top drawer out. So, since this is cut, we want to support this. So again, making sure that the flattest part is down. Now we've got the back part with the drawer, or the drawer hole, already cut into place. Now we just need to cut that drawer out of the top. So again, just take our pencil. I'll set it for about the same as my drawer down here. Kind of line that pencil up with it. Cut that up. And so we're just going to come in and we're just going to cut that out, and we'll leave just a little bit of space between the two drawers. Now, even though this is probably not going to be used a lot, always save your chunks because you may need it as a shim, and I'll show you what I mean here in a moment. So, now we've got the front and back cut, we've got our drawer at the top, we've got our hole in the back for our drawer. Now, the last thing that you have to do is cut this drawer. And the way that I do this, make sure that you measure this. Don't guess at this, because if you cut the drawer upside down, you're not going to be happy. So, I make sure you can see that this point should be over here. I make sure I slide it in and check. Nothing worse than having an upside down drawer. So now we know that that is our top. First, we have to cut the front and the back off and then cut that out. So, I'll just zip over here. Then all we have to do is stand this up. Again, Don't throw those pieces away. You may use it as a little pull for the front of the box. Now, I cut the front off. You know that is right this way. Look at there. Turn them until those grains match up. You want to make sure that you get everything lined up just right. Just like that, we've got our drawer. Now, we basically cut everything. We're ready to glue it together. Let's do it. All right, now we've gotten everything cut out. We're ready to glue this together. I'm going to show you how I do this. Now, I also want y'all to notice I haven't sanded anything, haven't done a thing. Never ever sand these things unless you have something that is just kind of chunked out or something that just can't be avoided. Always put them back together with that cut. That way, every one of those undulations basically line up. Now, I use only the best, good old Titebond. Titebond 2 is a water-resistant glue. Don't need a waterproof glue, which is a type 3. I really don't know that I have used type 1 too much, so I'm going to stick with what I know. Now, when you glue these together, I know that I've got them lined up properly. What I'm going to do is right here where I cut in, I'm going to put a dab of glue, okay? And I'm going to rub it into that crack. Now, you'll notice on the other side that when I squeeze it, I can see the glue where it comes all the way through. It's only coming through on the ends, so I'm going to do that again. I want to make sure that that glue gets all the way through. I know a lot of people use super glue, and that is fine. I have found that super glue is a lot quicker, much tougher to sand. It also leaches into the wood and kind of changes the color of it a little bit. So that's why I prefer to use good old yellow glue. It holds, yes, it does take just a little bit longer, but it holds just fine. Now, I will also tell you, you're not going to be able to do this whole glue up in basically one setup because you're going to have to glue the edges, then you're going to have to glue the front and back. So I'm just going to show you a couple of these before we move on to the next step. Now, if y'all have not found these Bessey clamps, I kid you not, these little clamps like this are one of the best clamps I've ever used. I know you're at the counter at Woodcrafter and you see these little things and you think, who's going to need this? These are the handiest little clamps I have found, and as you can see, we just squeeze that. I've got glue running all the way down both sides. Wipe off what we can. Always keep a wet rag handy. It's pretty handy to just kind of get some of that glue off or get some off your fingers. The other thing you want to make sure, don't just close it. Make sure that it's lined up front and back, because if it twists on you, then you got that little lip that you got to sand just to get it to go together. And sometimes you may have to take another clamp just to make them line up. Just like that. Now, I'll do the same thing on this one. These, it's best to go ahead and get these cut lines glued up. That way, when you glue everything together, you know that it is absolutely going to hold solid. If you try to do all these glue ups in just one shot, good chance you're going to open it up and find that it didn't glue up the way you expected it to. Go with just a little bit longer clamp here. Now, on this part, make sure that you snug it a little bit. And again, check that front and back and make sure that it is flat and flush. Barely snug that. You over tighten that, it can crack, and you get even bigger issues. So basically we're going to have to glue those. So what we'll do is we'll just put those all into the glue machine. And after just a couple of minutes, look at there. You've got a glued together box that is absolutely perfect. What's not to love about that? Fast glue, isn't it? All right, now. Yeah, I think everybody would like to know. Everybody, Sandra has arrived, so if you got questions, now's the time. All right, now, I basically have got this all glued together. What we need to do now is make sure that everything lines up the way that it's supposed to. And if you look at this, you can see that it's real close at the bottom. Might be a little bit over here, a little bit over here. Those lines may not be perfectly straight. I'm not going to lie to you, it does look bad. It doesn't look good at all. So what we need to do is, when you do a bandsaw box, you're never going to be that perfect in a cut. So what we want to do is round over those edges. And the way that we do this, I'm just going to show you real quick. There are obviously a couple of different types of sandpaper. I use 80 and 150. The 80 is so that I can get it done as quickly as possible. The 150 basically just smooths it down, gets those sand marks out of it. But on the 80, you'll notice that I'm using sticky back, pressure sensitive adhesive, PSA sandpaper. And the reason that I do that is if I need to close this up, it sticks together and it makes that paper a lot more solid. If I need to have something that I can kind of buff with, it comes in pretty handy. So that stuff sticks forever and ever. So we'll just, what we'll do, just start sanding this. And if you just start to sand that edge, what happens is that rounded edge starts to take a better form, especially when you put it in there the proper way, okay, and starts to hide any little wiggles that you got in the cut. So we'll just sand the heck out of this, and you can see that it comes out perfect every time. We've got our nice rounded edges. We've got our rounded drawer, even our rounded hidden drawer. Now, I know you look at that and you say, but Alex, it's crooked. This side is closer than this side. How can you fix that? Because when you sand it, you could take a little bit too much off in one spot or the other. Well, that's why I said save those extra pieces. And the reason you want to save those extra pieces is use them as a shim. So if I put this down in the bottom, especially if I run it in the same grain, well, when we put our drawer back in, you can see that everything lines up dead perfect and we get a nice symmetrical center on that drawer. So now we've got this one sanded. It's basically ready to finish. So what do you need to do to finish a box? Well, you need to flock it. Well, today, what I did was I put a little bit of clear coat on the inside of this small drawer. And the reason I did that, when you flock a drawer, you really need to paint it twice. You need to paint it, let it dry, then paint it and flock it. And the reason that we do that is so that if the paint sucks in just too much in one area, well, then it kind of leaves it blotchy. So I basically sealed the inside of the drawer. Now, I'm going to take over the master flocker here. Sandra usually does this. And, you know, I thought, what better way to flock a drawer than with Carter Blue. Can't beat it. All right, now we're going to use a little bit of frog tape here. Now, nice thing about frog tape, it does have that gelatin in it, so it basically sucks up any liquid so that it can't get up and past frog tape. So when you are doing your flocking, you want to put the paint on, let it dry, and then when we do this second coat, which is essentially what we're going to do here, we're going to flock it immediately. And I'll show you exactly how we do that. And one more. All right, now I've just taped that off because it makes it a lot easier to do your lines. That way you don't accidentally get paint where you're not supposed to. And remember, you're probably going to sand it anyhow, but this still saves you a little bit of hassle. So I just did a quick little paint inside that drawer, and I'm putting it on pretty heavy. It's okay. You want it as thick as you can possibly get it. So we'll set that off to the side. You can see I've flocked that. Now we've got our flock in a Ziploc bag, and we're going to immediately fill that up, shake that so that it gets completely embedded in that paint, dump the residual out. Just like that, you're going to have flock. Now, get that tape off there. Don't wait for it to dry, because if you do, I can just about guarantee you you're going to peel more paint and flock off than you are the tape. Look at there, just as pretty as it can be. Now, just put our bag down here. Now, I got to tell you, in order to finish your box, one of my favorite finishes, and I've used it before, but I've got to use it again today. This Valspar, one of the best sprays and finishes that I've seen. This is a satin, and it's pretty quick. Oops. Sorry, Sandra. You're going to have to pick those stones up later. All right, so let me just show you how this stuff works. Dries quick, but the finish is quite nice. Now, you can see we've got our blue flock in that part of the drawer. We've got our blue flock in that part of the drawer. And basically, as promised, I told you we'd have a finished box by the end of the evening. And I will still have time to answer some questions because it is only 7:30. I will tell you also one last thing here. When you do a box like this and you've accidentally sanded more at the top than you're supposed to, and you want to make that symmetrical, you can see that piece. I did not finish it. Normally I would finish it so that it's not very noticeable, but basically that's the same piece of the material. And when you slide that in, you can see it separates that bottom and top to make everything really kind of line up real nice. So, all right, I think we've gone over everything. Sandra, do we have any questions?
When you said you finished, when you said what you use for a finish.
Oh, you know, this is Valspar. It's called Project Perfect Top Coat. Not cheap stuff. I will warn you about that. But I got to tell you, it's pretty flawless. It really does go on, dries quick. does just a great job. And again, I've used it before. Apparently, I'll be using it a good bit more.
When you flock, do you ever turn the box over and knock the extra flocking off?
Actually, you do. You get most of it out, but you let it dry and then blow it out. You'll get a few more fibers off after it dries. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to shake that stuff into the paint so that it really sticks. And it just does. I mean, matter of fact, I'm going close. I want y'all to see this. I mean, it really does just a beautiful job of attaching those fibers. Now, you'll lose a few just because when you blow it out, they're not quite adhered to the paint as good as the others.
When you blow it out, you tap it.
Well, when it dries, I blow it out. You tap it in the bag, but when you leave, after about 2 hours, I blow it out. But
Tom Gossett has been using his Powermatic bandsaw. He won from you.
I love it. Oh, and before I forget, Tom, thank you so much for bringing that up. Y'all know that I'm going to be giving away a 14-inch Powermatic on the 4th of July. Well, the deal just got better. Thanks to the president of Carter Products, you're going to not only get the $1,500 Powermatic bandsaw with the riser block complete, but you're also going to get a complete Carter kit, a stabilizer, and of course, some Carter blades. So don't forget, just post a photo on bandsawlife.com, or excuse me, that's the new website, Bandsaw Life on Facebook. Just post a photo of your favorite project. It doesn't even have to be yours. Just a favorite project that you'd like or like to do yourself, and you're going to be entered to win that. And you get to come to my shop for a whole afternoon, a whole day if you want, and learn how to tune up bandsaws, do a few projects including a bandsaw box, and you're going to go home with a $1,500 Powermatic bandsaw. All right.
Stephen would like to know, can you do a freestyle bandsaw box? Meaning no planned design, just let your imagination go for it.
I do you talking about right now, Stephen?
I think he's just saying, can you just do a bandsaw box and
Absolutely.
not have paper plans or written plans, or do you need plans? Can
No.
you just do what you feel?
Absolutely, by all means. Matter of fact, a lot of the boxes that I do at the show, some will trace out. We've got 20 minutes. I guess I could do a real quick. Y'all want to see a mushroom box? I'll show you a freehand. Matter of fact, I'll just take a little piece of this. This is a little bit of Spanish cedar that I got from my buddy Chuck Bender. Just cut a chunk of this off. Got one more piece, just a little bigger. Now, this is a slide top box. This is not a drawer pull. So, what we want to do is we want to actually cut the top of this off before we cut our sides off, because there are only 2 glue joints in this whole box. So what we'll do is come right back in here. Try to keep your lid as thick as you can make it. the heavier it is, for some reason, it seems to better slide. Plus, if you get it too thin, we're going to round over the top and the bottom. And if it's too thin, it'll basically disappear. So, we've got the lid off. Now all we have to do is cut the front and back off and then cut the inside of the drawer out. So what we'll do, cut the front and the back off. Then, all we have to do is cut the inside of that drawer out. So we take the front and back, glue those back into place. We've got our drawer. Take our lid, slide that back in, just like that. We've got a slide that box.
What size blade are you
I'm using a 1/8 inch on the 14-inch Powermatic, and I'm using a 3/8 inch on my 3/8 inch Greenwood blade on my 24-inch Powermatic.
Matthew said, I have Carter guides on my bandsaw. Can I use the 3/4 blades too?
If you have Carter guides on there, you can use all the way down to a 1/4 inch. If you're going to use less than a 1/4 of an inch, then you need to get the stabilizer. But the blade that I would strongly suggest would be the 3/8 inch Greenwood blade. If you do some combination, if all you do is straight cutting or resawing, go with the 5/8. I can tell you that you will never turn a 5/8 in less than about, 10 miles. They just don't turn well. But I will tell you that they are just a razor when it comes to how straight they cut. 3/8 Greenwood blade is one of my favorites.
Rick would like to know when you're planning to do a presentation at Woodcraft in Lexington, Kentucky.
Rick, I'd like to know the same answer to the same question. I'm dying to get over to Lexington to do a presentation over there. I'd like to do the 3D cutting boards. I have several Woodcrafts basically on hold right now because of the COVID. But as soon as they give me the green light, I think my very first class, and I'm so stoked about Mark Adams every year. I get to do his school twice a year. I think is in July, and then I think I have Chuck Bender the week after that. So you just contact me and let me know what I need to do to set something up once we have the green light to do it. And besides, over there in Lexington, y'all have you have bourbon for sure, but you have one of my favorite all-time turners in the world, and that's Chris Ramsey. And one day I'm going to get over there and get to meet him. Kevin Big Fish. I'm using the 1/8 inch, not the 1/4 inch. The 1/8 inch is what I like to do a lot of my bandsaw boxes with because, especially for the inside, if I've got a large box and I'm cutting the outside of the box and I just want to kind of get through it, I know there's going to be a ton of sanding no matter what. I'm going to use a 3/16, probably 4 tooth per inch, just to cut that box out. But if it's a small 1-drawer box or something this size, 1/8 inch, 14 teeth per inch, absolutely a perfect blade for that.
Is your Mark Adams class full?
That I believe it is, but you know what? Call anyhow, because you just never know when somebody may cancel. They do put up a waiting list. I have the 3D cutting boards, 3 different types: the ball, the clover, and the 3D cutting board, all in a week. So it's a 5-day class. That's my first one. And then the second one is the magnetic energy box. And that class, I'm just blown away that it gets filled up. I'm thrilled to death with that.
Marty just asked, can you make a 3D cutting board on the bandsaw, which is pretty much what you just answered.
Oh yeah, nothing. And I promise you, if you take my shop tour, you will not see a table saw in this shop. Not that I don't want one. I would love to have one day. But I can tell you that I do everything 100% on the bandsaw, planer, joiner. I have yet to do anything on the table saw other than the cabinets that I made for my wife, and that's done at Jamie Sarver's shop. He's got table saws that they pretty much do everything.
Tom, that won the bandsaw, said he would love to have you come to Maine.
Oh, I'd love to come to Maine. Love to get up there and go visit Tommy Mack, which Chuck Bender has promised to get me squared away with. Oh, wow. Sherry Spath. Hello. How are you? We get to meet so many wonderful people at the trade shows. Sherry and her husband, Wayne, and Gracie. I hope Gracie is doing well. Have been just wonderful friends throughout the years.
Kelly said you should turn off the tools and get that bourbon poured.
Amen, sister. Amen.
Kelly might be a man.
Amen, brother. I don't care who you are. I love you.
Do you have a 3D a video demonstrating the 3D cutting boards on the bandsaw?
Yes, there are 3 different volumes of the cutting board. There's the clover, the ball, and the 3D. All 3 are available through CarterProducts.com. And by the way, I hope Lee doesn't shoot me, but I'm going to throw that code out there one more time. I'm sure he'll honor it, and hopefully he won't take it out of my check. TWS 2020, all caps. TWS 2020 gets you a 10% discount at Carter. Just give them a call at the 800 number, 888-622-7837, and they'll get you squared away.
Kathy loves when you come to Secaucus, New Jersey every year she gets her reindeer, and her husband and her both love.
How much time do we have left? We got like 9 minutes.
Kevin Big Fish, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
It was autocorrect. He said a cross-cut sled.
Oh, cross-cut. Yes, actually, I have used a cross-cut sled to do some stops and some basically constant cutoffs, but that's actually going to be part of the sliding table, which unfortunately has been put on delay until I get the rollers that I need. I cannot really show that. Sophie, what do you have? Okay, I thought she picked up a piece of the box.
No.
So until I get those rollers, I can't even attempt to put the video out, so I apologize for that. Chuck gave me that Spanish cedar for was to cut out reindeer, so we'll finish up with a couple of reindeers, and then we'll let everybody get back to their weekend. And we'll make them about that tall. Turn that dust flusher back on. Otherwise, we'll all be covered in dust. traditional, just standard 3D reindeer. Oh, good night, Nathan. Sorry, what? Oh, good night, Joshua. Since we live in Virginia. Good night, John Boy. A little bit of a fat head. That would be a side race reindeer. I hope that y'all have enjoyed tonight's bandsaw life. I am, well, let's put it this way. I'm trying to kind of recreate just a little bit just because we are all locked down. And I've really enjoyed doing these Friday night talks. Matter of fact, if y'all come up with something that you'd like to see me do, something that you've always wanted to see done on the bandsaw, throw some suggestions out there. Just toss them on my page, Bandsaw Life or Alex Snodgrass, or even on Instagram. Just come up with anything that you find interesting that we could do in an hour. I mean, you see just how incredible the sanding magic table is here. So if you think of anything, please let me know. Sandra, do we have any more questions?
Yes. Hold on. Sorry. John wanted to know if the 1/8" blade, you use a special guide or something for it.
Yes, I'm using the Carter Stabilizer. Now, Carter Stabilizer is adaptable to any bandsaw, whether it has Carter guides or regular guides. And you can get those through Carter. They are good for a 1/4 inch or smaller blade. You don't have to use any side guides or lower guides. Your blades will last literally 4, 5, 6, 10 times longer because you don't have those side guides creating that friction and heat, which takes the set out of the teeth, destroying the blade. And there's no adjusting. One time adjusting out of the box and you're good to go.
Grandchildren have gone to bed.
My grandchildren were watching tonight. I love it. Well, I think that it's been a blast. Again, I hope everybody's learned something. Just fun on the bandsaw is all it is. And I hope to show you several other projects. I've been in the shop all week long. I've recorded probably 40 hours of video in the last week or so. Can't wait to get some of those out there, including, Sandra, where's your Apple box? I believe. The hand. The Apple box. Now, this one was a blast, and this is going to be up on my YouTube channel, Bandsaw Life on YouTube. All kinds of videos coming. Matter of fact, Troy's working on it as fast as he can go. Y'all be nice to Troy Downs. He is just an angel. Sent to help me get this stuff on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Didn't even know most of them before he came along, and he's helped me just a ton. But this is the thing I get the kick out of more than anything is that worm. My wife painted that with a toothpick, was it? I don't know what it was, but she did a really great job. And of course, you can't open the box. You can't get that worm to come out. It's basically hard to So how do you do that? Well, I just put a magnet in the end of the stem, pull that out, slide that, and voila. You got a simple little puzzle box. And kind of hope to come up with a couple more, but it's going to be tough to beat that worm. He's pretty cool.
One quick question before we go.
You got it.
Tom, that won our saw, would like to know if you use Carter guides for the smaller blades, you have to change that if you go to thicker blades.
Yes, well, you can use the Carter guides for 1/4 inch and up. You can use it for 1/4 inch and down on the stabilizer, but 1/4 inch is kind of that middle of the road. You just can't get wider than that on the stabilizer, otherwise the blade flexes too much and it'd be too dangerous. But the standard Carter guides are for 1/4 inch and up. They are for a guided blade. So if you're going to use anything below 1/4, you're going to have to absolutely add that stabilizer so that you can do your scroll cut. Ivo sent me these pieces of wood. Gosh, it's got to be about a year ago. They are, he tells me, dogwood, and they have been stabilized, and they are such an incredible figured piece of wood. And one day I'm going to do something with these, and I know he thinks I've forgotten about him. I haven't. Every time I see those pieces of wood, I think I've got to do something for Ivo one day. All right. Anything else? We're I'm sorry, I've kept everybody late, and I guess it's time to go eat dinner. Sandra's been working all day, and she was nice enough to come in and help us towards the end here. But y'all, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Everybody stay happy, healthy, and safe. Thanks for watching Bandsaw Life.